We are covering Network Address Translation, or NAT, a critical topic for your CCNA exam. Let's start with static NAT, which is a one-to-one persistent mapping. Imagine you have an internal web server at 192.168.110. To make it reachable from the internet, you would use static NAT to map a public IP address, like 203.0.113.5, directly and permanently to that private address. The exam will test this with scenarios asking how to make an internal server accessible from the outside. If you see a requirement for a permanent one-to-one mapping for an inbound connection, static NAT is the answer. Next up is dynamic NAT. This method uses a pool of public IP addresses to be shared among internal devices. When an internal host wants to access the internet, the router temporarily assigns it an available public IP from the pool on a first-come, first-served basis. An exam trap often involves a scenario where you have 100 users but only a pool of 10 public IPs. With dynamic NAT, only 10 users can be online at the same time. The 11th user will be blocked until an IP is freed up, a key limitation you must know for the test. This brings us to the most common type, Port Address Translation, or PAT, which the exam frequently calls NAT Overload. PAT is a many-to-one mapping where hundreds of internal devices can share a single public IP address. The router keeps track of each session by mapping the internal IP address and its source port to the single public IP and a unique source port for each connection. The exam loves questions where a company has many users but only one public IP. The answer is always PAT, or NAT Overload. Now for the terminology that trips up many test takers, the 4 NAT addresses. Inside local is the private IP of your device. Inside global is the public IP that represents your device to the internet after NAT. Outside global is the real public IP of the destination server you're trying to reach. And outside local is the IP of that destination server as it appears to your internal network, which is usually the same as the outside global address. Here's a mental shortcut to remember this. Local means on the private side of the router, and global means on the public internet side. So inside local is your private IP, and inside global is its public counterpart. Finally, for troubleshooting, the CCNA requires you to know the Show IP NAT Translations command. This command displays the active NAT mappings, showing the inside local, inside global, outside local, and outside global addresses for each session. An exam question might show you this output and ask you to identify the NAT type in use or troubleshoot a connectivity problem. For free practice questions, AI-powered explanations, and more exam prep tools, visit openexamprep.com. That's openexamprep, all one word, .com.